everybody. Pete Tango here for TGI Sports Talk. Not Are You Serious? It's the Stream of Consciousness show. How are you all? It's Sunday, not Friday. I'm all screwed up. It's been a long week. Just been traveling. Beautiful Lansing, Michigan. I got some stories to tell you. We'll get into a little bit of that today. I don't want to offend anybody from Lansing, and I know they're doing a lot of work to revitalize the area, but, you know, it looks a little like Aleppo in places, so I apologize to anybody from, and please don't send me letters. I'm just making a joke. I got a really funny story to tell at some point today about that trip. It was a lot of fun and productive and a good thing for work related stuff. So anyway, where do I want to go here? Our opening. How about I open? We welcome everybody. We're obviously on TGI Sports Talks page. We're on. We welcome everybody from Northeast Streaming Sports. We're simulcasting on Let's Talk Sports. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. A lot of good stuff going on, guys. Keep in mind this week, Wednesday and later Thursday, Wednesday night I'm doing a recording an interview with Reggie Brooks, former star running back with Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And we'll get that one in the books, and you'll see it on Thursday night at 6 o'clock if Keith programs it right, because the last interview I did, I programmed it for 6 a.m. on Friday. Oh, God. Hang on one second here. I'm going to get this music all the way off. All right. And then in the coming weeks, we've got Delvin Williams, former NFL running back with the Dolphins and the 49ers. And this could be an interesting interview because he's got a lot of resentment towards the NFL and the way he feels he was. Again, I'm paraphrasing, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. We'll get it from him. But basically the way he was used by the NFL, his body was used and abused, and afterwards he was not properly taken care of, and he's got some very debilitating injuries. So it'll be interesting to talk to Delvin about that. And then later in the month, we'll have former Major League pitcher Dick Drago, one of the key members of the 1975 Red Sox, that played probably the best World Series ever against the Red Sox. They didn't play the best. They lost, but the real World Series itself, Game 6 alone, and Game 7 was a great game as well, but Game 6 of that World Series was probably the best World Series game ever played. And in my lifetime, that 1975 World Series was the best ever. We're going to get into a lot of stuff here. Again, we're back from a trip to Lansing. We didn't have any shows this week. The college huddle will be on hiatus for a bit. We'll break in if we have some important stuff to talk about. But we didn't do an Are You Serious show this week. Carlos was hot and heavy to do it because of all the news coming out this week with the Knicks winning. We're going to get into a lot of that. We'll get into the draft here in a bit. We'll talk about some of the top picks. We'll talk about Levis dropping. We'll talk about some of the winners and losers. We'll get into the Patriots, Giants, anything you guys want to talk about, we will talk about. We'll get into Major League Baseball, the Yankees struggling along. But, you know, look at, they're 15-12 with 17 starts out of guys they didn't think they'd be relying on. And Herman, who I couldn't remember who it was a minute ago, relying on as much as they are. Clark, who's not pitching well. Burrito's not pitching well. Herman hasn't pitched great. 17 starts out of those guys are 15-12. We haven't got one start out of Rondon and Severino. Loizaga has been out of the bullpen. Trevino hasn't pitched at all. I'm not panicking yet. No Bader. Injuries are hurting him. We'll get into all that. We'll go around the league a little bit. Jacob deGrom's hurt. Big news there. Breaking news. Jacob deGrom has a bad arm. Told you. Hope Alan joins us a little bit this morning. The Knicks win their first playoff series in a decade. We'll talk about that in the Heat matchup. I think this team's going to the conference final, and we'll see what happens should that happen. We'll talk some more the NBA playoffs, and also The NHL we'll get into a little bit. I didn't get even a chance to reach out to Jim Beringer, the ringmaster. We'll get him. I know he's playing hockey on Sunday mornings, and it's hard now. I was traveling, could not do anything tape, so we'll figure out something. We got some big news, though. Rangers avoid. God, I hate to use the word choke, but they won the first 2 games of the series on the road. Now they avoid elimination last night, played a great game. Finally got the offense going. And now they got a game 7. And they've got a game 7 today with the Bruins on the brink. Their great season on the brink of going up in smoke. I doubt they'll lose, but it could go up in smoke here. There's nothing better in sports. Listen, I love the Super Bowl. I love the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. But there's nothing better than sports than a game 7. And I don't care what sport we're talking about. Baseball, hockey, basketball, especially hockey. For whatever reason, it's baseball too, obviously. But hockey's just has a different feel in game 7s. And we're going to get a great one today. We'll talk about that too. And also the Maple Leafs getting off the schneid. So we'll talk about all of that as we go forward. What do we got here? We got some guys in the room already saying good morning. Rick, good morning, Rick. Thanks for having me back. Where's the sad New Yorker lately? I'm sure he's been on some of the Let's Talk sports shows. He was hitting me up draft night, and I couldn't get back to him because I was trying to do some stuff with Mac and Jack and Let's Talk Sports. And I couldn't do a show Friday morning because I was busy with a job that pays me, a lot of money, and I can't risk that to, do a podcast for free. Anyway, we'll be catching up with Sad New Yorker this week. Hello, CA. Blessed Sunday to you as well. Good to have you with us. I haven't been to Gary, Indiana, so I'm not sure. I'll tell you guys a quick story here. Let me get to a few more good mornings. I got to tell you a hilarious story. In my mind, probably not as funny 3 days later. Good morning, Drew. Good to have you with us. College sports. Georgia has the 26 first-round picks over the last 2 years. Amazing. I think 20 of them are Eagles, by the way. Great job by the Eagles. We'll get into that. We'll get into all that. Apparently, 7,300 feet above sea level, nature of the Mexico City Stadium is not conducive to pitching duels. No, I guess it's probably not. I can't say I love pitching here, says Padres pitcher Joe Musgrave, who was tagged for 7 runs in 3 1/3. Padres playing, who are they playing? I got the scoreboard up here somewhere. Who the heck were they playing out there? I don't even know. It's hard for me to get. I'm trying to get back in. I came home yesterday, got in at 11 a.m. I was home by 11:45 or so, but then it's right into, had to clean out 2 rooms because they're coming to do carpet. We're getting 3/4 of this house carpeted. Just to kind of give you, I've been kind of alluding to this. Some of you know, I guess we have purchased a new townhouse. We don't have a closing date yet, but everything should be no problem there. And we're getting this house ready to list because it needs to sell for a lot of money to cover the cost of the new house. So we're getting some carpet put in. Probably 3/4 of the house. So I had to get 2 rooms emptied out yesterday. 3 rooms emptied out yesterday. Because they're coming Monday to do those 3 rooms. Then I got to move everything from where I put all that stuff into the rooms that are done. So it's going to be a busy week. Anyway, where's San Diego? Who's San Diego playing out there? Oh, sorry. You guys are going to carry me today. I know that. How come I can't find San Diego? Oh, the Giants. Yeah. Listen, a quick story. You guys can put some comments up and we'll jump into your stuff. I don't care where we go first. I want to talk about the draft. I want to talk MLB. I want to talk playoffs. We're going to talk it all. It's a stream of consciousness so we can jump around if we have to. Probably start with the draft. Real quick story. I arrive in Lansing, which, by the way, I could have driven probably from Detroit, where my layover was, to Lansing in less time than it took me to fly there. It's like an 18-minute flight. That takes an hour. I get to the airport in Lansing, which, by the way, Albany is like New York City compared to Lansing, Michigan. Capital of the state. It's called Lansing International Airport. Their parking lot is out front. Looks like a Price Chopper. or Market 32. I wait 40 minutes. I stayed at the Radisson downtown, which is right across from the Lansing Center where I had to go for 2 days of stuff, which was good. I could walk right across this river walk inside. It was nice location. But they're redoing the whole hotel, $10 million renovation, blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't a great stay. Anyway, call for my shuttle. I had a time for my shuttle, and I showed up 40 minutes late after I called them. A guy picks me up who had to be 100 years old. Those of you of the right age will remember Tim Conway's character on the Carol Burnett show. I don't know the name of the character. I don't know if the character even had a name. Old man, shuffling along. This is the guy that picked me up in the shuttle. Gets out of his side. I thought he left. I thought he fell down. It took him so long to get around to my side of the van. I already opened the door and put my stuff in. Then I felt I should help him in because this poor guy dropped everything he had 5 times, was shuffling along. Then it takes him about 5 minutes to get around the car again, the shuttle. Dropped his keys on a floorboard, couldn't find them, had to get out of the thing, get back in. Now we're driving 5 miles an hour. And he's getting buzzed on these 2 ways these guys have. And he's going, what? And he's talking the whole time to people are talking on the other end. So there's no way he's going to hear him because every time he talks, they talk. So about an 11-minute ride that took about a half an hour. I get to the shuttle. I get myself out, get my bags out. He finally makes it over about 5 minutes later. I had no change. I had gone... I never got to my bank. I don't carry cash, hardly ever. So I hit the ATM in the airport. All I have is 20s. Just keep it. He was very happy. He got a $20 tip for what should have been an 11-minute ride. Anyway, that's not the funny part of the story. Funny part of the story is now I get checked in. The power had been out apparently before I got there and just came back on. I get checked in, which I had to wait, go over and had to wait 20 minutes because their systems were just booting back up. I get to my room. I got to work. I got to get on a conference call. No internet, no Wi-Fi. I call downstairs. Oh, I can figure out that the power probably screwed it up. I go downstairs. Can you bring your laptop down? We'll help you configure it. And I'm like, ugh. So I do it. She can't help because guess what? She didn't just check her phone to see if she had Wi-Fi. She did it while I was down there, and so did the other girl. Oh, we have no Wi-Fi. It's probably because of the power. I promise I'm almost done. I get back on the elevator. It stops. I'm on the 11th floor. It stops about 3rd floor. My shuttle driver gets on, shuffles on. The door hits him like 3 times by the time he gets through it. And he goes, hey, how you doing? He goes, thanks again so much for, the tip and blah, blah, blah. I go, oh, no problem. What are you doing? Where are you off to? He goes, I got to go up and fix the Wi-Fi. I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed for about 2 hours. I probably find that story funnier, but I had to share with you guys. Oh, my God. Sorry to go off on that tangent, but let's get into this. Giants. Yes, thank you. I did figure that out. I should have looked for you, Drew. Not only has Coach Trotz survived, but flourished, Carlos. Yeah, excellent. Good point. Carlos and Coach Trotz. I mean, Jesus, good God. It is amazing to me, right? When I talk about the Islanders are out and Trotz, I don't know. Again, they made the playoffs. I guess I should give them some credit, but whatever. What do we got here? Good morning, Kenny. Good to have you with us. Hey, Lansing was fine. I found a nice sports bar Thursday night where I went and had some bite to eat and a few IPAs and did some of my guest shots I was going to do for the draft. I couldn't hear a thing because I left my headset in a freaking hotel room, but it was good. I had a good couple of nice beers, some nice people. I took a nice leisurely walk back and avoided some Thanks, Carlos. Good to have you with us today. Man of many talents. Oh my God, Drew, this was so funny. Funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm not exaggerating. This guy had to be 100 years old, and he probably said he probably thought he heard him say, "I got to. You need the hi-fi fix. I can fix the hi-fi. Just show me where the vinyl is, and we'll take care of it." You can't make this stuff up. Oh my gosh. Let's jump into some stuff, shall we? And guys, I appreciate you all being here today, and certainly bring your topics, bring your comments. Let's start with the draft. You can bring up any topics you want. You're happy with your team? You unhappy with your team? I'm happy. I'm going to go through real quickly some of the winners and losers. To me, there wasn't a lot. There's a lot of really good players in this draft. There aren't that many great players. That's why you saw teams trading down. That's why the Patriots did not take a wide receiver early. They took wide receiver. The first one they took was in the 6th round, maybe 6. Might take 2 in the 6th round. High ceiling, low risk, low pay. But they did a great job, I thought, getting more athletic on defense. A little surprised with the kicker in the 4th round, but he was a second-rated kicker in all fairness, and he was the second off the board to Moody from Michigan. The punter, they released Bailey. They needed a punter. And by the way, this kid from Maryland also played 2 years at Eastern Michigan. Chad Ryland is really good. He also can kick off, which is Nick Folk kind of started to lose at the end of last year. His range is not that great. He's been great on short kicks. But when Bailey got hurt and they had to have Folk kick off, it hurt their special team something terrible. This kid can do both jobs. The punter they got has a big leg. Little surprising the Patriots take him because he doesn't have much control, and they are a directional type punting team, always have been. I'm interested if he's left-footed because I like left-footed kickers. But in any event, not a lot of value, high value to paid first-round draft picks. There were some good players. I thought most teams, there's a few teams that had really good drafts, I thought, which I'll run off here in a second. I think most of the teams fall into kind of an okay draft. And I only had one team that I think really did horribly, and that's the Lions. I don't know what the Lions are thinking. They reached, in my mind, for the running back at 14, maybe. Second running back off the board. This is the kid from Alabama. After Bijan Robinson, who I thought was a great pick for Atlanta. I thought Atlanta did a good job. But then they trade Swift to the Eagles. Eagles are loaded. Eagles had the best draft, in my mind. To come away with the 2 kids from Georgia, as Rick was kind of alluding to. And getting Nolan Smith at 30. Now, there's reason these guys drop. I get it. Great job out of the Eagles, I thought. I thought the Texans did great. Not as many people giving them as much credit as I am. I think for them, I thought they were going to take Will Anderson with that second pick. I still think they took C.J. Stroud, as you know. I wonder a lot if they weren't quite sure that trade was pretty much a done deal before they made any pick because, and if they pick C.J. Stroud second, I think it boosts his ego a little bit rather than if they took Anderson, then made the trade and picked C.J. Stroud. But they get potentially their franchise quarterback. I have doubts about Murray. I have doubts about Stroud. I have lots of doubts about Richardson. But I thought the Texans did a great job getting both the guy they wanted on defense and the quarterback for their future. Again, I think the Eagles did a great job. I thought Seattle did a great job. Who else did I like? The Cardinals, I thought did okay. I thought Atlanta did okay. I thought the Steelers did good. Lions, I didn't like at all. Saints, I didn't like a lot. But the Lions still, I don't know what the Lions are doing. Lions could have taken Carter. Carter fell to, I think, 10. Lions could have teamed him, and I know there's some question marks here, and there's some issues because of but this kid made a mistake, a bad mistake. But it isn't like he was in a street fight. He made mistakes a lot of people make. I made stupid mistakes that nobody got killed during when I was a kid. And he wasn't the only one making a mistake here. So, again, you got to be smarter. And it didn't turn out to hurt him too much. But I think that the Lions probably missed a great opportunity to put him with Hutchinson on that line. And now they trade their first round, their number one running back, Swift, who was very, very efficient at offense. And then picked a kid from Alabama. What's his name? Why is his name escaping me? Let me get here to... I'm going to get back to your comments here in a second. Bear with me. I'll jump around the teams. Let me look quick at the... oh, Jesus. My mouse doesn't seem to want to work in the new spot I'm at here. I think I got to get myself a pad. Wrong team. The Lions. Where are you, Lions? I want to know who they took. And I can get everywhere but the Lions. I mean, what the hell is going on? There we go. Oh, Gibbs. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Fine player. Nobody had him picked in the first 12 picks. Nobody had him in the first round. Jack Campbell, who I like, out of Iowa. I think I talked about Campbell on this show or some other show. I like him, but kind of a reach at 18. Patriots were looking at him later. Let me get to your comments here, and we'll keep going here. Trotz is not coaching, no. First time in years, Trotz undefeated in playoffs. Carlos can find a way to coach Coach Trotz even when he's gone. Islanders made the playoffs and made a quick exit. So did they gain anything by Trotz being gone? No. Tons of quarterbacks taken. What are they calling the Brock Purdy effect? They are calling it the Brock Purdy effect. A lot of guys went, in that 4th, 5th, 6th round. There's some good quarterbacks in there. I've said for a while, Jack Haffer from Fresno State. I thought the Patriots might take a flyer on him late in the draft. But he's a guy that will bear watching later on. These are projects, and that is the Brock Purdy effect, true. And listen, the NFL, like every league, is a copycat league, and but Brock Purdy's aren't going to step up every year. I think you like it. I tried. I wanted to move my table to solidify a little bit, but when I get moved and I got I've got a new desk ready to be shipped, but I'm not shipping it here and moving something else. So we'll have to deal with this shaking. It's not from drinking. I swear to God, it's my table. I'm a leaner. Robert Butler and I saw Levis falling to the second round. Well, then you're brilliant, Carlos, because, nobody else, other people did, but, it doesn't matter. I mean, other than him losing millions of dollars, he fell into a good situation with the Titans, which you should be happy about. And I will still tell you, he will be the best quarterback at the end of the day. 15 years from now, he'll be the best quarterback in this class. It won't be Richardson. It won't be Levitt. Or won't be Stroud, I don't think. And I don't think it'll be Murray. There'll be a lot of teams unhappy. And I saw once we got by, I don't know, it was 5 or 6. It was obvious. You could tell then. And by the way, all the reports during the day, and the Colts did a great job of, first they talked up Levis, then they talked down Levis and up Richardson, then they talked down Richardson and up Levis, and it looked like they were taking Levis the last day. Then he falls out of the first round. It was inevitable he was going to, after he didn't get picked by the Colts. Nobody had a desperate need for quarterback that they wanted to pay. They'd want to pay first round money. You have to always factor that in. I mean, all during the draft, Jack Hirsch was like, well, why wouldn't the Seahawks take him here? Why wouldn't whoever take him here? Well, because you got to pay millions more than you have to pay if you pick him in a second round. Tens of millions. Guaranteed money. And Will Levis falls into a good spot. I thought the Titans were smart. They traded up to get him. Or did they trade up to get him or not? I can't remember. They might have been drafting in front of the Rams. I thought the Rams were going to get him with that 5th pick in the second round. That's where I thought he'd go, to be honest with you, quite early during the draft. Oh, it's a great job. I mean, it's a great spot for him because he's got no pressure this year because Tannehill's going to be there one more year. His contract's up. They're unlikely to trade him now. And Will Levis can sit for a year and be the starting quarterback next year. Steak Sandwich says Rodgers is out before half the season is done. That was the other big news of the week, obviously. The trade got done with Rodgers and the Jets, which, again, it looked last week, the 49ers. That was probably Green Bay. Because I thought they did a little better with draft picks than they thought. They swapped draft picks this year, got a third rounder, I think. They got a conditional first rounder next year. I heard a funny line this week, by the way. I don't know who it was. I think it was a GY guy I listened to in the morning, Doug Gowdy. And I don't think it was his line. I think he stole it from somebody. That when he walks in that locker room with the guys for the first time, how long will it be before, this, and if you don't watch, Drew, you'll get this. Guys, if you don't watch Ted Lasso, watch Ted Lasso. But the reference was, and I know Drew will get this. I think you'll get it. I think you're still watching the show, Drew. Drew turned me on to the show. It's going to be very similar to Zava joining, whatever the soccer team's name is. It's escaping me at the moment. But he'll be there, and he's going to say stuff that's crazy, and people are going to look at him like, what the hell is he talking about? I wonder if Zava isn't based on Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it was. Drew, you can feel free to comment. We do need a Steak Sandwich sponsorship. Mark Mancini's been trying to get a hold of me, and we have not hooked up. So Mark has been blowing up all over the internet, man. He's doing some great stuff, both producing and hosting some shows. Had some great stuff on. He has a show with Bill North, former A's and Giants and Cubs center fielder, played on the world champion A's in the 70s. They've been getting some great guests, man. They had Reggie Jackson on not long ago, so he needs to hook a brother up. Mistyped was talking to Tibbs. Oh, I got you. That makes sense now. Go ahead. You can comment there if you want. We're going to get into basketball later. Coach Thibodeau did a great job of changing his approach midseason. Didn't just play his guys, which is Carlos's one of Carlos's problems with Coach Tibbs. Coach Tibbs is going to be coaching the conference final, so he's done okay. Colts have a tendency to draft big quarterbacks. Yeah, and I tell you what, Levis fit their mold better than Richardson when you think about who they've had in the past. Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. But, they decided, listen, this Anthony Richardson pick, well, Irsay's probably making the call, so you're not risking anything when you're the owner. But this is, if this misses, they've set this franchise back a bunch of years. Tanner McKee, another good quarterback, and again went in the plethora of quarterbacks taken in this draft. If I remember right, I saw somewhere, I don't still have it up. Draft by position. Let's see. Here we go. Quarterbacks. Ah, crap. They don't give me the totals. Why don't you just give me the totals? That's all I want. It's totals. Ugh. That's the rankings. I don't want that. Guess I'm not going to find it. There wasn't 53 players. There weren't 53 quarterbacks taken, were there? I don't know. We'll find the number later. Somebody's got it. They can feel free to share it. He does get into a good situation. You know what? Sometimes getting picked later, like Levis, like some of these guys. Not every one of these guys goes into a good situation, but you might have a better chance getting drafted later. Yeah, you can make a lot more money getting in the first 5 picks, first 10 picks. And Levis lost tens of millions of dollars, guaranteed money anyway. But he's in a good situation, and he's certainly, if he's a hit, he's going to make that money up and more throughout his career. So, Ted Lasso is a great show. You're right, Carlos. You like the Zava, Richmond. Thank you, Drew. Richmond's the name of the team you went to. You think, in a Carlos and Drew, when I saw Zava, I thought of Aaron Rodgers right away. And it was funny when I heard this comparison when he hits the locker room and starts talking his crazy nonsense to his teammates. It'll be a Zava thing. Will he walk away like Zava? I don't want to ruin the show for anybody who hasn't watched it. Zava for the Greyhounds. No, there's a Swedish player called, I'm not going to even try that, Carlos. But Madonna care. Ursay better get a quarterback guru to teach and mentor him. Listen, I don't know. Who else is on the roster? I mean, do they have... You need for a kid like Anthony Richardson... Let me take a look at their quarterback room right as it stands today. Let's take a quick look here. Who am I looking for? Colts. Let's look at who's on their roster right now for quarterbacks. Here we go. Sam Ehlinger. Oh, they got Nick Foles, who will be a good role model, I guess. Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson. Not a horrible quarterback room for Richardson to be in. Maybe he won't have to play year one, depending on what their approach is going to be here. They do have Foles and Minshew who can... I don't think either one of them is a guy you want out leading this team for 17 games. Listen, I've been saying all along Richardson's a huge risk. This could be a monumental mistake by Indianapolis, or it could be a big win. I don't know. All I know is I doubt there's been a quarterback drafted in the top 4 picks in a draft with less college success than this guy. If you can show me one, please do. Alex Simpson, welcome. I watched you a little bit last night with Alan. Good job. What'd you miss? You missed all the news about my trip to Lansing, Michigan, which I guess won't mean much to you. And we've been talking a lot about the draft, obviously. I'll just to catch you up, and I catch everybody else that might have. I thought the winners here, the big winners, were the Eagles for sure, the Texans, the Seahawks, the Cardinals. I liked what the Falcons did. Bijan Robinson's a great fit there. Steelers, I like what they did. I like what the Patriots did. Everybody else is kind of middling in my mind. Nobody had a really bad draft except the Lions. I think the Lions had a horrible draft between picking Gibbs too soon and then trading Swift to the Eagles. How good are the Eagles? Now, by the way, forget about the draft. How about the trades they made? We worried. I talked here about how much they'd miss Miles Sanders. Not anymore. They traded for Eckler on draft day or the day before, whatever it was. Aaron Eckler from San Diego, and they bring in Swift now. Their running back group is better than it was when they went to the Super Bowl. Plus, Plus, they brought in 2 more studs for that defense. Who's beating that team? Rodgers said he was happy to be with a team that can win. I would have put a bounty on his ass. Can't do that. You get suspended for a year, like Sean Payton and Williams, the defensive coordinator. So got to be careful there. Although it happens all the time. And I you know what's funny? When the Packers were up in the first round, I thought it would have been awesome if they had picked like a wide receiver, one of the top wide receivers. Wide receivers, by the way, big losers in this draft because none of them got drafted till the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. Very good news for the Vikings, who end up with Addison. Good news for the Seahawks, who end up with Flowers. So Seahawks had a great draft. Seahawks have got a really good offense right now. Draft another running back to go along with Kenny Walker, another wide receiver. Existential Rodgers. Wowie. Jet fans, I'm going to tell you, this could be, I'm not a Jet fan. Everybody knows that. But I try to be very rational in my thinking. I try to step out of my fandom. I'm very, very honest about my teams, right? I'm not just going to cheerlead for my teams. When things are going bad, I tell you, this sucks. And I try to do it with my opponents. The Jets, this is a good gamble for the Jets. As much as I rag on Aaron Rodgers, this is a good gamble for the Jets. They got a 2-year window here. They're good enough to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if I was crazy about their draft, but we'll see how that plays out. They got a 2-year window, and this could be very good, where they get to a Super Bowl and win, or at least get to a Super Bowl. Or it could implode. Could be a complete disaster with him in the media. Who the hell knows? The Rodgers comparison is fair also with Zava. I agree. Alec, you might be. We're talking Ted Lasso, by the way. Alec, I don't know if you're a Ted Lasso fan or not. It's obviously a show here in the state. Well, made here in the States. I'm sure you can get it in the UK. And it's about a guy who never coached soccer, obviously hired to coach a soccer team in England. And it's a great show. I got to tell you, Roy Kent is my favorite fake athlete of all time. I love Roy Kent. Texans and Seahawks did really well. I agree, Alec. The Texans, I think what they did at the top of the draft, I mean, maybe depth-wise, we'll all find out. Nobody knows about these guys who go. Nobody knows about any of these guys, much less because nobody's a sure thing ever. By the way, it was very interesting to watch. Ryan Leaf does a lot of work with the NFL Network, and during my trip, I had the NFL Network on pretty much constantly. He does a lot of stuff with some of their on some of their shows, and it was great to hear his. He's obviously grown up a lot, and it was very interesting to see his take on some of this. The pressure on some of these guys, and just his overall input, I thought was really good. But I thought the Seahawks did very well as well. They're probably Eagles, Texans, Seahawks are my 3 teams that I say really went over the top. What the hell is that? I don't use Instagram, and if I did, I'd never be able to get to this guy because I can't put that many letters in a frickin'. Oh my God! No team wants wide receivers with ceiling of tax looming in the next few years. Well, again, I've talked about this a lot. one of the reasons I thought the Patriots were going to trade out of the first round, and I still think they might have if Gonzalez hadn't fallen to them. By all accounts, Gonzalez is the one guy they would have picked in the first round. He was the number one guy on their draft board and many draft boards at cornerback. Cornerbacks and wide receivers all fell. But again, it goes to my point that there's a lot of good players in this draft. Not a lot of great players that you're willing to invest first round money in. That's why I thought the Patriots, again, if Gonzalez hadn't fallen to them, I think it's very likely they may have traded all the way out of the first round. Yeah, I don't know what that's for, but yeah, I figured you'd. I was wondering how, and I guess I've talked to Dan Harris about this in the past, how people over there receive the show. It's very, very good, well written, well acted, and Roy Kent. I said this last year, or I guess after the first season, that I want Roy Kent to host like every pregame show, every game show. Wouldn't Roy Kent be hilarious hosting Jeopardy? Ryan Leaf has been through a ton, and it's good. It is good to hear his perspective, actually. I'll be honest with you, when I was watching him for a while, I didn't realize who I was watching. I don't watch the NFL Network as much as I used to. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about some of the personalities, and but Ryan Lee, and I was watching him for like almost a day, and I'm like, he sounds and looks familiar because he's lost a lot of weight, and he's quite frankly, he's matured and grown up. So good for him. Let's go through somewhere here. I've got not that one. Let's go through the draft real quick for all the teams, and we'll. Time is it? 9:12. We can do this. And we'll go to some baseball, some other football news, and you guys can kind of give your comments. Rick, we'll get to your team, and we can talk about that. We'll talk about San Francisco more. We'll talk about your guys' teams a little more than some of the others. So we'll stay on San Francisco a little bit. The Jets and Giants, obviously. Arizona, I thought did a really good job. Paris Johnson, I thought is a franchise type offensive lineman, and I think the Patriots would love to have had him, but they weren't going to trade up to get him. So I like that. I love the kid that they got, the edge rusher from LSU, who I'll butcher his name, Ojulari, a cornerback out of Syracuse at 72, Garrett Williams. I like him a lot. So really good job, I thought, out of the Cardinals. The Falcons, I think, did really well as well. I thought Bijan Robinson was very surprised to see him go as high as 8, but this is a great situation for him. And they also go with a really good offensive guard in Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. Syracuse well represented here. Zach Harrison from Ohio State, the defensive end. So they, with their next 3 picks, they focus on a defense that needs help. Good job, I thought, out of the Falcons here. I'll go through the first 10 listed here, and then we'll catch up a little bit. The Ravens, Zay Flowers, I said Zay Flowers went to Seattle. I misspoke there. Zay Flowers went to Boston. I went to Baltimore, which I think is a really good pick for them. I think he'll go well with Obi-Wan Kenobi there. Sorry, I don't mean to disparage Obi-Wan Kenobi that way. But I think this is just an okay draft for Baltimore. I like Flowers. He fell all the way to 22. Some people had him in the top 14. Small. He looked even smaller on TV. But this, to me, this is just an okay draft. I wasn't crazy about it. The Bills, I think the Bills did very good. They get Dalton Kincaid, who fell. There was a lot of talk about 4 tight ends going in the first round. Only one went. Dalton Kincaid was the only guy to go. Michael Myers should have gone, I thought, in the first round. I thought I thought Myers might be a better pick here than Kincaid, but I think they like Kincaid's ability in the running game a little bit better, and then also obviously his ability to get into the passing game. And then they addressed a little bit of their offensive line issues, getting Torrance out of Florida. Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams, I think, is an athletic type linebacker that they'll do well with down the road. Let me do the Carolina Panthers, and then we'll move on. Let me do the Panthers and the Bears. Panthers, obviously Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick. We'll see how that works out. Listen, I'm not sure. He's a great kid. I'm just not sure about the height. Not sure about the arm strength. We'll see how it goes. Wide receiver Jonathan Mingo out of Mississippi. I think this is just an okay draft. I mean, number 1 pick, they did okay in the first round. I think they did a bad job day 2 and maybe rebounded a little bit day 3. You know, the Bears, I didn't mention them earlier, but I think they did a good job too. Lots of good players here. They had a lot of picks. Darnell Wright, really good offensive tackle out of Tennessee. Again, another guy who was high in the Patriots draft list. They do well getting Dexter out to address the defense. They got Dexter Stevenson, who's a really good cornerback out of Miami. Another defensive tackle in Pickens from South Carolina. They get the second running back from Texas. I think this is, and I like Tyler Scott a lot from Cincinnati. So I think this team did really, really well with a lot of holes to fill. Let me see what you guys got here. Carlos, the draft was a little crazy. I like the moves made and kept it interesting. 42 trades, I think there were. I think it was a record. 42 trades, and not all of them by the Patriots, just an FYI. So it was interesting. I will tell you this. The first round moves too slow. I know they've got to fill up TV time. I know they want to sell advertising. But 5 freaking hours or whatever I had to watch this thing. I guess I didn't start till 8 o'clock, right? But we started at 7. For this thing to get over at midnight is crazy. There's no reason this thing can't be over at 11 o'clock. And am I the only guy, and I guess I am, because of the other shows I've been on, I find it very disingenuous, the whole freaking Roger Goodell and giving everybody this huge hug thing. Come on. Does it feel real to you all the time? Not to me. How many wins do you think the Jets get? You say, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I think they're the favorite in this division. If Rodgers doesn't implode, if Rodgers plays anywhere near to his norm, he's 39 years old. He's going to be 40 soon, guys. But if he plays anywhere near his norm, the Jets are the favorite in this division. Patriots could be last. I don't think the Bills are dead yet, but I think the Jets are the favorite in this division, and they've got a chance to go deep in the playoffs. They've got a defense that is already championship contender worthy. It's a good football team. If they don't, and they were lacking a quarterback. This team would have won 9 games and been in the playoffs last year, Alec, with a quarterback. The skill position players are good. It's a good team. Coaches have learned and come along. There are a ton of free agent rookies not signed. Today's a big day for that. You're going to see a ton of non-drafted free agents get signed today and tomorrow. And some of them will earn jobs, and some won't. And again, this is what stop. Nobody wants to watch minor league football. Nobody. The teams don't want to support it. Independent leagues, the USFL. If you watch, the USFL stinks. The football stinks. Guys are going to learn more, and you're not going to get better playing. The competition is not as good as what they're playing in college. So how are they going to get better playing in the USFL or the XFL? Football's just not built for a minor league system. Doesn't even work in basketball in my mind. I'm just not a fan of that. 2 quarterbacks and a running back going to the portal from Notre Dame. Who is that? I haven't really checked much of the college news recently. Who are the quarterbacks that went in, Kenny? Well, we know one left. I know Pine left, right? Can't remember where he went. BYU? I think the Bears did a good job. Listen, if Josh Fields continues to progress and he actually can get nearly as competent throwing the football as he is running it, this is going to be a good football team. But he needs weapons as well and needs to be protected. I think the Bears are building things the right way. They've done a great job, and this division could be wide open for anybody next year. I would think the Vikings are still the prohibitive favorite. The Lions are the trendy pick. I'm not crazy about what they did here. I'm still not convinced Jared Goff is going to be a guy. He took a really good Rams team to a Super Bowl. The defense carried him. Detroit doesn't play any defense. They should have addressed it a little more than they did, at least early. This team would have been much better putting Carter with Hutchinson, who they picked number 1 last year. Maybe they can shine if Detroit and the Vikings don't shine. Again, there's a good chance that division will be very close next year. Now, the Vikings, I mean, they've still got Cousins. They've still got Cook. They've still got Jefferson. They've got a really good core there, and they'll probably win that division. But I would expect the Bears to get better and challenge the Lions a little bit. And I think Green Bay's probably going to fall backwards, but we don't know anything about Jordan Love. Nothing. We'll find out quickly. Agree they should have they should give picks by 3s. I'm not sure how to do it, Carlos, but just how about this? How about just when the pick is in, you go and call the pick? How many times do we see the pick is in and we talk for 10 more minutes, we go to commercial, and we'll give you the pick when we come back? 3 hours. I'll give you 3 hours, not 4. And besides that, we talked about this morning a little bit on Mac and Jack. They were talking about it when I came on. I don't need to listen to those guys talk for 4 hours. Where are the human interest stories we used to get on these guys? Give me something to watch other than just picks and blah, 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 blah. I can blah, blah, blah all myself. 11 p.m. in the UK is when it started, right? No, sorry. 11 p.m. I'm not sure. 11 p.m. is when it would have. Aren't you 5 hours ahead of us here? At least on the East Coast. So it would have started later than that, wouldn't it, Alec? Carlos, I give Jets 2-3 game, make playoffs and fall short to an NFC West team. Well, that'd be an improvement. They got a 2-year window to win a Super Bowl, and this is a success. I don't see him playing past that, or at least playing well past that. I want to return to Y.A. Tittle in the form of Rodgers. He can go eat his mushrooms and live in a cave. So you want to see? You're talking about the end of Y.A. Tittle. You want to see Rodgers laying in a pool of his own blood at the end of his career? That's not nice, Kenny. I don't know how the Bills will survive without Leslie Frazier. I know you're being sarcastic. Interesting that he stepped away. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach. And I don't know why he keeps getting head interviews. Then again, maybe I do. You can read between the lines there. The Bills, bullheaded management making terrible decisions. I don't know that I agree. I think the Bills did a pretty good job here. Kincaid's a really nice pick. Torrance is a nice pick. They addressed their three biggest needs in their first three picks. I don't know what else they can do. Tight end, offensive guard, linebacker. They also need some wide receivers, and they got one from Florida, Justin Shorter. They only had 6 picks in this draft, compared to some teams who had like 12. CA's back. Maybe we'll do a study on Ted's show after NYPD Blue Plus. Maybe we'll do a study on Ted's show after NYPD Blue to Blue Bloods. I'm not sure I get the comparison. I loved NYPD Blue, by the way. One of my favorite shows of all time. Buckner went to Alabama Poon and Poon to Arizona State. Another that has left my mind. Well, we'll get back to that then. Philly halftime. Good to have you with us. You not think Jordan Love's a good quarterback? We don't know. I don't know if we know, Philly. Good to have you with us, by the way. First time, I believe. Welcome to the show. Sooner or later, you have to take a shot here. I mean, the relationship between Rodgers and Green Bay had run its course. That's very obvious. What are you going to do? I mean, I'm surprised they haven't brought in a veteran to maybe compete with him maybe in training camp. And maybe they still will. There's a few guys still out there. I think Teddy Bridgewater's still out there. Nothing great, right? And I'm going to assume Philly halftime, you're a Philadelphia fan. Great job by the Eagles. The Eagles have a great draft. Not only did they get the 2 great defensive players from Georgia, again, 4 of them in 2 drafts, by the way, back-to-back drafts. They also bring in Eckler and they bring in Swift. Tremendous job. The NFC might be chasing the Eagles for a while if they don't get it together. The draft coverage started at 11 p.m. and didn't finish till 4. Oh, so it must be just one. I don't know what. I'm assuming you saw the same coverage we saw, or is there a network in England that carries it? Did you watch ESPN or New York? I'm sorry, NFL, the NFL Network? And I guess you're talking about when it started. I guess I started paying attention at 7 o'clock. I got out of some meetings and I was watching it from 4, so it's on all day. Yeah, I do know. We probably all know. And again, listen, I get it, but, the rule's a sham. We know that, Rick. The rule is a sham. That doesn't mean, that the NFL coaching ranks shouldn't be inclusive, but, when you force teams to do it, they just go through it to go through the motions. It's just ridiculous. Carlos had a good word to say about somebody just a little while ago, I thought. I talked about this a couple times, Philly, and I'm happy to repeat it. I think the Eagles did a great job, as I just said. I think the Texans did a great job. I thought Seattle did a great job, bringing in another wide receiver, bringing in another running back, addressing some other needs that they need. The Texans did a great job. I thought for sure they were going Will Henderson, and I don't think they would have made the C.J. Stroud pick unless they knew they had that trade in place for the 3rd pick to be able to get Anderson. I said Henderson again. Will Anderson from Alabama. So I thought they did a great job there. I like what the Cardinals did. I like what Atlanta did. I like what the Patriots did. We haven't got to them. I'm going to keep going down the list here real quick before we get to some baseball. The only team I did not like to draft, and the rest were all kind of middling. The rest I can kind of lump together as they're okay. The Lions, I think, had a horrible draft. Horrible. Besides trading Swift away. Pine, stupid autocorrect. Oh, I got you. Okay. Where did he go? Oh, that's right. Arizona State. I get it. Right. I really don't need looking. Neither do I, Kenny. Believe me, there's a system we use at work. SharePoint when I was working on performance reports I had to have done last week. There are words I know I didn't type. I mistype a lot of stuff. But I'm like, as I'm going through it with people and I have to make changes, that's why I read through everything. There's no way I typed that word in there. High school and college football is for the NFL. The minor leagues, if that's what you're referring to, I agree. I mean, what better minor league system can the NFL have than the NCAA? They're even getting paid now. What do you need a minor league for when the kids in college are making more than the guys in the USFL or the XFL? And tell me that's incorrect, Carlos. Oops, sorry. 7 p.m. behind more Sunday calls. 7 minutes behind more Sunday calls. You're a busy man there, CA. Alec, Miami had a poor draft as well. Let me jump down to them real quick. Let's jump down to Miami real quick. I can't jump here. Damn it. All right, let's scroll down to them, shall we? If I can spell, I'll find them. There they are, Dolphins. They only had 4 picks. That's number one. So number one, remember, but they traded a bunch of picks recently to the Rams, to the Chiefs. They didn't have a first rounder. Because they traded for Bradley Chubb. I forgot about the Niners. So they picked Cam Smith from South Carolina, 51 overall. Running back Devon. I don't see a guy here that will really help them. Their first round or their day one draft, again, is bad because they don't have a pick. Day two, I mean, the guys they got are all right, but they didn't get a lot of quality depth here like a lot of other teams did in my mind. Like the Bears. I think the Bears had a really good draft. I don't know that I mentioned them to Philly halftime, but I thought the Bears did a good job because they had a lot of picks. I think they got some good value picks in there, and I think they'll be very happy with what they did. That's a little harsh, Kenny. Why? I mean, the kids don't have to sign. You can not sign, sit out a year, and go back in the draft next year. Do you think, I mean, again, without a draft, Kenny, what do? Remember, Major League Baseball didn't have a draft until like 1966. The Yankees got everybody they wanted. It's one of the reasons the Yankees dominated for, 4 decades. And they put in a draft to even it out. Can't have nobody. Who else? Let's just go through these teams quick. Where'd I leave off? Buffalo? Who else are we interested in? The Bengals? A little surprised the Bengals go for an edge rusher before offensive line. In fact, they didn't address the offensive line in this draft. Still lacking badly. I mean, they got some good picks here, but again, I might call their day because they didn't address their biggest need. The Browns, I like the pick of Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver out of Tennessee at 74. I thought it was somebody the Patriots might look at in the second round. I thought the Giants might look at Cedric Tillman. He's going to be a good player. Hyatt, the other Tennessee wide receiver, went late in the trying to remember if he went late in the first round. We'll see where he comes up or early in the second round. But not crazy about that. I'm not crazy about the Cowboys draft either, although I like Schoonmaker. They got in at 58. I think he's a good value out of Michigan. I think that's a good pick. They took Michigan. Actually, Mazi Smith, I like it at 26. So that's not a bad pick. I think their best pick was Deuce Vaughn at 212. Deuce Vaughn will be a successful player in this draft in the NFL. He'll be a successful player. in the Darren Sproles mold. Darren Sproles had a long, productive career in the NFL at 5'9" or less. And he went to Kansas State as well, by the way. Deuce Vaughn is a clone of Darren Sproles, and I think he might end up being the steal of the draft here. The Broncos, okay, Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. Again, I don't think there's anything excited about if I'm a Bronco fan here. They only had 5 picks. Detroit, again, I don't like their picks. I think they reached for Gibbs at 12. I think they reached for Campbell at 18. I like Campbell a lot. I liked him as a potential second-round pick. I thought they reached there for him. Then they go tight end and Sam Laporta out of Iowa, coming out of a really bad offense. The one value pick I think they got, and they had a couple interesting picks after that. They had a good pick with Brian Branch at 45. I think that's a good value at number 45, the defensive back out of Alabama. And they end up with Hendon Hooker, who dropped all the way to 68. A lot of talk about him going in the first round. We talked a lot about Will Levis, but Hooker dropping too. And he'll be able to sit for a little bit. They'll be able to find out what they have. But again, you haven't risked a lot of guaranteed money once you sign this guy, picking him at number 68. I mean, all in all, day one, not good. They rebound a little bit in that second day. Green Bay, a lot of picks. I'm sure when they took an edge rusher with number 1 pick, I'm sure Rodgers was tweeting out, same old Packers. But they do go tight end. Maybe the best. I thought there was 4 really good tight ends: Schoonmaker, Musgrave, Meyer, and Kincaid. I thought they all were first-round talent, and I think they all went. Before the second round was out. They get Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State here. Who again? I think you can interchange these guys 1 through 4, and I think it's a good pick. Nice pick with Michigan State wide receiver Jayden Reed, I thought as well. So, and then you go Tucker Kraft. I don't know where you get Kyle from. They take a flyer on Sean Clifford, one of those guys that we talked about getting picked at 149. A lot of the quarterbacks with the Brock Purdy effect. Let's keep moving so we get through all these guys. Again, I already talked about the fact that I thought Texans did very, very well on day one, especially. And I think they got some quality guys at the back of the draft. I think that will help this team depth-wise. I'll get to your comments. I want to get through some of this. Anthony Richardson with the Colts. Again, I think the Colts, I'm going to say, their draft all depends on what happens with this Anthony Richardson pick. They got some good picks throughout. Will Mallory, I like a lot. One of the more underrated tight ends out of Miami. If you saw him play at all last year, he plays an NFL-type game. He will be very good in the NFL. How good he's going to be in this offense to get started, it remains to be seen. Jacksonville, I'm only okay. They addressed their offensive line. They went tight end second with Brenton Strange. And I thought they're pretty well set with another guy's names escape me. The former Giant tight end. It'll come to me. That 62-year-old brain. I like the Tank Bigsby pick at 88. But other than that, they're filling right now. Jacksonville's in that position where now they don't have to draft for need as much. They're drafting best players available, which is a good place to be. I'll get to you guys' comments. Keep putting them up there as soon as I get through. I'm going to get through this real quick. Kansas City, I think they did okay. I like the pick of the edge rusher, Azuma at 31. Adding Rasheed Rice out of SMU, I think, is a nice pick, a little bit of an underrated wide receiver at 55. And again, the wide receivers, man, they stuck around a long time in that first round. Then they had a run on them near the end of the first round. Vegas, Tyree Wilson, probably a nice pick. A lot of guys had him going in the first 10. Good pick with Michael Mayer at 35. Good value pick there. And the rest of the draft, I think, is just okay. Little surprised there's not a quarterback in there. Oh, there's a quarterback in there. Adian O'Donnell out of Purdue. Again, Brock Purdy type pick. Chargers. Nice pick with Quentin Johnstone, who I think will fit that wide receiver room really well and fit this offense really well. They've had some injury issues with all their wideouts last year and in the years past, and this is a good move, I think, for them. Anybody else I really like here? The rest of, I mean, listen, it was okay. Not a great draft. Again, another ho-hum. I thought the Rams did pretty good. I like the Oliva pick at 36, the offensive guard. They get Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Stetson Bennett in the 4th round. Rick, I know you're happy to see him go there. It's a low pressure situation because Stafford's there for at least another couple years, probably. I'm unsure that he will be an NFL type player, probably a backup type player. Will he be a starter? Not sure. But this is a good place for him to go, get his feet under him and see what happens. So again, okay. Dolphins, we already talked about. Vikings, I think they did a really good job here. I like the Addison. I love Jordan Addison. I thought he's bigger, actually. I thought he's a lot bigger than Flowers. He turns out to be about an inch taller. 23rd pick overall. I like the Blackman pick out of USC. And a little short on picks as they only had, I think, 6. Watch out for the Jaron Hall pick. Again, the Brock Purdy effect. 164 they got him out of BYU. Good quarterback. Maybe somebody they can look to in the future. The Patriots we talked about a lot of picks, and I think they got some good value. The first 3 picks, all defensive players, all athletic players. Christian Gonzalez might have been the best cornerback in the draft. And if he's not there at 17, I wouldn't be shocked if they traded out of the first round. A little surprise with the kicker, Chad Ryland, who was the second pick overall, and he has a big leg. He's very accurate, and he can kick off, which is a big deal because Nick Foles, once Bailey got hurt last year, killed them on special teams. And I like the wide receivers. Again, a lot of Patriot fans wanted them to go wide receivers and tight ends early, but the value to the money you got to pay for first rounders, even second rounders, wasn't there. And he picked a couple of guys, one out of Liberty in Demeric Douglas, who's kind of a small guy. The guy to watch out for, though, is Kayshon Boutte. I'm probably saying his name right. I'll have to figure out how to say it. Really good year his sophomore year. And then last year he had some trouble with the coaching staff. And we'll find out whether he's uncoachable. I doubt he's uncoachable if the Patriots picked him, though. So I like what they did here. The Saints, I'm not excited about this. I'm not really. I like Kendrick Miller, the running back pick at 71. I like the fact they bring in Jake Haener at 127, another one of the Purdy factor picks. It went a little sooner than I thought he'd go, but I like Jake Haener a lot. I've talked a lot about him on this show of late. The Giants, I thought the Giants did a really good job with Banks addressing that secondary a little bit. Then they addressed the offensive line with Schmidt. I love Hyatt. They get Hyatt, the wide receiver, at 73. Great value pick there. They pick a running back to help with some depth there, and Eric Gray out of Oklahoma. Again, not a lot of picks, but I thought they did a decent job in getting value out of what they had. The Jets, a little surprised they went defense number 1 overall, but Will McDonald, the 4th, is a really good player out of Iowa State. You don't see a lot of Iowa State guys going to top 15, but he's a really good player. They addressed the offensive line with the next few picks. They took Pittsburgh running back Abanikanda Kanda. I think he's from Wakanda. I shouldn't say that. That's wrong. To get some depth at that running back position. So again, the Jets, day one, But I think they did well later in the draft, getting some value in those later picks. We already talked about the Eagles. It's not just the fact that they end up with Jalen Carter with the 9th pick overall and Nolan Smith at 30, but they also come away with Keely Ringo at 105 from Georgia. That Georgia defense, as Rick said, has produced a bunch of draft picks, not number one draft picks, but draft picks over the last 2 years. Let me get through this quickly, guys. I thought the Steelers did a good job trading up to get the offensive tackle they wanted, and Broderick Jones in front of the Jets, who likely would have taken him. Good job getting Joey Porter at 32. Joey Porter Jr., excuse me. Joey Porter, as we know, played for the Steelers as well and played very well. Nice grab with Darnell Washington at 93 to tight end. So overall, I thought the Steelers had a great draft. The 49ers, Alec, you can comment on this if you like. I think just an okay draft in my mind. I mean, day one, they didn't have any picks. Day two, I'm not crazy about the Brown pick. I'm not a big fan of him. I do like the Jake Moody pick, although a little bit higher than I thought it might be. He was the first kicker taken. And then the rest is kind of, I don't know. They're okay players. Again, this draft is full of good players, not great players. So to me, just an okay draft for the 49ers. You can agree or disagree with me. I think Seattle did a great job getting the cornerback Witherspoon, who I thought was probably the best cornerback in the draft, although the Patriots think it might have been Gonzalez. I think if it came down to Witherspoon or Gonzalez, the Patriots would have preferred to have Witherspoon. Great job getting Nijba, Smith Nijba out of Ohio State. Might be better than Garrett Wilson. Got to stay in the field, though. He's been hurt so much. So I thought they did a great job there. Great job with Derek Hall, the edge rusher. They did a nice value pick in Zach Charbonneau at 52, the running back, to team with Kenneth Walker. So great job, I thought, out of the Seahawks. Tampa Bay, a little surprised they didn't go for Will Levis here. But again, you've got quarterbacks. You don't want to pay first-round money. You don't do it. I think this is an okay draft for them. They got a lot of holes to fill, and I think they took some what they thought were value picks here. Tennessee, good job. Peter Skoronski, maybe the best offensive lineman. I think Paris Johnson was. Skoronski, a lot of people think is a better pick. They get him at 11. Will Levis falls into their lap in the second round. I love Spears, the running back out of Tulane. I think will help that team a lot. And then I think, their third day picks were just okay. But I think overall the Titans do well. Washington, the team formerly known as the Redskins, they could have used a quarterback. A little surprised they're going to put their faith in Sam Howell and not pick a Will Levis. I was a little surprised at that. But again, I think it comes down to the money they would have to pay for the value they think they're going to get. So I'm not crazy about that pick. So that's it. That's the first round. We'll get out of here. I'll get your comments, and we're going to move on to some Major League Baseball. Where did I leave off? I got to see where I left off. Oh, I left off at Kenny's slavery. Kenny, the Perth curse. Good thing you married a teacher. I think he's talking about the typing, not the slavery comment. Good for the Yankees. So then the players get to choose who they try out for. Again, they can not sign. I don't know. I think you have to have a draft to keep some kind of semblance of order. You'd have teams folding right and left if you didn't have a draft in all the sports. Because the teams with the most money then would always get the best players. Always. That's why the Rangers deserve to go out. Or like Theismann. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, that's the way. Rogers deserves to go out. I see. We're still talking. Now we're back to the white tittle. Oh, like Theismann. Oh, Kenny. Karma, man, karma. Alec, Will Levis will win more games than Will Anderson. Well, we're talking about this year or in his career. Will Levis probably won't play this year. But I will tell you this. I'm on record as saying, Will Levis will be the best quarterback out of this class. And this quarterback class is overrated in my mind. We'll see. I'm not a great. I did horrible as I was going through this and making picks as we went along. But I still think Levis will be the guy who comes out ahead in these four quarterbacks. And maybe somebody further down will end up being. Maybe there's a Tom Brady in that Brock Purdy factor bunch. Philly halftime. I'd like to see what Pittsburgh. I like what Pittsburgh did in their draft as well. As I said during these comments, I think the Steelers, that Central Division, the Steelers are rebuilding themselves nicely. If Kenny Pickett continues to progress the way he did the end of last year, if Harris stays healthy and progresses at running back, I like what this team's putting together. And this is going to be a Steelers type defense, more ball control offense than maybe some of the other NFL teams play. But I like what they're doing as well, Philly. Alec, the 49ers did what they needed to do, picked Moody high as we had no fourth-round draft pick. That's a good point. So you got it in that regard, then you have to reach a little higher. Again, I think when I say it's an odd draft, there's nothing that kind of blows me away. Again, 49ers are a team that you don't necessarily always have to be looking at need. You can be looking at best player available. And that's when you know you've got a good NFL team, is when you're not always picking to fill a need. I love Seattle's draft, as I just talked about. The kid from Ohio State, if he stays healthy, that kid could be better than Garrett Wilson and will be a star in this league. Problem is he's had trouble staying on the field. And I love the other picks, as I just talked about as well. If we're going to get to that in a second, our lead story in baseball, breaking news, Jacob deGrom has an arm injury. Who knew? Always one dumb owner. Kenneth, it's unfortunately the manipulation of parenthood where slavery exists, at least from Western civilization. Oh, CA, I can't do it today. Rays' great season continues. No hit for 6 innings and scored 12 runs to win. The Rays are playing great baseball. They won't continue to do this all year, I don't think. We'll get into that in just a second. Let me get through the rest of my there's only a few more comments here about football, I think. We can bounce back if we have to. So I assume you didn't agree with the Texans taking Stroud ahead of Levis. I don't. I think Levis, again, I understand these teams, and they know more than I do, Scott. I'm not saying anything about it. There's a reason. Well, listen, circumstances also caused Levis to drop to the second round, right? Once you got by the fifth or sixth pick, nobody was taking him. They didn't have a need to pay for first-round money for a quarterback. So he was screwed by circumstances if he wasn't going to be one of those first 3 quarterbacks taken. That was the problem. And again, I think Levis will have the better career of all of these guys. Again, what do I know? Very situational, Mr. Ken. I also think the Patriots, Scott, I talked about this. I think the Patriots did very well. I know a lot of fans wanted them to reach for wide receivers. I'm okay with the fact that they got more athletic, more versatile on defense first. I think they got some high ceiling guys with low risk from the wide receiver position, 6th round and back. I like the fact that they picked a kicker. They need a punter. Both of these guys have some high upside. And they also filled a couple of offensive line positions where these guys can come in and compete for jobs probably in training camp, or at least provide depth. So I like what they did. Plus, another factor of this draft weekend that we can't overlook is the fact that Bill Belichick is trying to make amends with his quarterback and finally had some uplifting things to say for Bill Belichick about his quarterback. 49ers, same team, different season, same results, down with the Shanahan system. They're just consistently winning every single year, Carlos, unlike the teams that, whatever. I'm not going to get into this. They need a quarterback. You aren't going to win Super Bowls without a quarterback. I'm not convinced they got a Super Bowl winning quarterback on this team. You can't tell me the Shanahan system doesn't work when it gets you to the NFC Championship game consistently. There are teams that would kill for that. How many AFC Championship games have the Jets been to in the last 15 years? For 10 years. I shouldn't go back that far. Shanahan's been to how many? The Mets did with DeGrom wrong and ruined his career. Listen, here's what I say. All these teams do pitchers wrong because they don't let them pitch. They don't throw on off days. They don't build up arm strength the way that they should. There's a reason that guys thrived and pitched for 20 years with not the injuries that these guys have back in the day, because they pitched. They actually threw. They threw every day. They coddle these kids, and then they get hurt. They in trying not to get them hurt, they end up getting them hurt, and as Scott says, ruining their career. Whether he's talking about the same reason I am, I don't know. But yes, they coddle these guys. Recovery room. Verlander back next week. Liam Hendricks throwing well. Hendricks is pitching. I didn't even see that. I probably would have got through it when we go through the news. But Verlander is supposed to be back next week. He did pitch pretty well in his rehab starts. But Scherzer, it looked like, got hurt yesterday. We'll see what the extent of that is. And we'll get around the league here in just a little bit. C.J. Stroud could be the second coming of Vince Young. And Bryce Young might be the second coming of Kyler Murray or Drew Brees. If it's Drew Brees, then we're fortunate. Miguel Andujar resurfaces in Pittsburgh, goes 4 for 5 with 2 homers in debut. Listen, I love Miguel Andujar. I will be so happy if he revives his career, whether it be Pittsburgh or whatever. And Pittsburgh is one of the big surprises of the league. Second best record in baseball. I keep waiting for them to collapse, and I think that pitching will collapse at some point, but we'll talk more about them as well. Good point. Miguel Andujar, welcome back to the major leagues. Great kid. Yankees just could not figure out how to get him over the hump. And he's one of those guys, I think once it started going bad in New York, he just couldn't get it back on track. Partly because the Yankees kept bouncing him back between the minors and the majors. And, it's hard to play in New York. And sometimes guys just can never recover. And that might happen to the Zach Wilsons of the world as well. Steelers getting Washington at 93 is one of the spotlights to watch. I agree with that. Great pick there at 93. Play out amongst other interesting takes from this auction. Well, it's not an auction, actually. If it was, maybe that's what we should do. Do away with the draft and have an auction. Yeah, right. This is a different era of baseball, and it's better because all the starting pitchers get hurt right and left. So either they can't pitch with injuries the way that they did in the past, or we're ruining them by babying them, Carlos. You want to continue to tell me baseball's better today than it was 40 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. You're wrong. You're wrong. You continue to be wrong, and you'll always be wrong. This is just one example. When Nolan Ryan was running the Astros, was running the Rangers, he was making an attempt to actually have pitchers in the minors pitch. So you don't have all these kids. And the problem with all these kids that come up today is they throw 90 pitches and they're looking in the dugout for somebody to come and get them. And they don't have to pitch in stressful situations. And you pay these kids the most money. And then you baby them and they get hurt. They get hurt because they don't build up their arm strength. Different era. It's an era that sucks, by the way, Carlos. Absolutely sucks. Where were we? After that tirade. I'm talking the same exact reason as you do in the Grom. I figured. But we're dinosaurs, Scott. We're dinosaurs. We don't know what we're talking about. The game today is so much better. Everybody's smarter. Analytics makes the game so much better. No, it doesn't. The games this year are shorter. Are they better? In some cases. You got to gimmick up the game to make it any good. The pitchers who pay the most money don't even pitch the most important part of the games ever. And they get hurt because you baby them from the time you sign them as kids to the time they get to the major leagues. Different doesn't mean better, Carlos. I won't argue the fact that it's different, but it sucks. Drew Allen, do you have him in fantasy? DeGrom. I don't know who's got him. Whoever drafted him. By the way, forearm discomfort, very bad thing for a pitcher. Pittsburgh has good players piecing it together. They got good position players. I'm still a little doubtful that their pitching is deep enough to continue this rise. And they're also benefiting from the really poor play of the rest of the division other than the Brewers. Well, I shouldn't say that. The Cubs are doing okay as well. I have to look at their we'll go through their schedule in a second if you want. Just like I did with the Rays. The Rays beat up on a lot of bad teams so far this year. Not yet. You'll have them soon enough. I got to remember to check my lineup. I'm actually... Whoa. Sorry about that, guys. That wasn't meant to be. I picked up my phone. Scott, anybody doubting that the Pirates are for real needs to stop. They're 100% for real. That's me. Don't tell me to stop. Just kidding. Why would you think? I mean, again, let me look at the Pirates real quick. Let's look at them. They got one great player in Brian Reynolds. I can tell you that. But, I mean, do I think that they're necessarily going to continue this for another 4 months? Let me just I want to look at two things. I want to look who they've been playing. Here's who the teams they beat up on. Red Sox stink. The White Sox stink. They beat the Astros. They lost 2 out of 3 of the Astros when they played a good team. They beat the Cardinals. They split with the Cardinals, who are playing horrible baseball. They beat the Rockies. They beat the Reds. 6 straight. Those 7 straight. 2 of the worst teams in baseball. They beat up on the Nationals. They did beat the Dodgers too. Mostly this record is built off of bad teams. Now I know you got to beat these teams, and you can only play the teams on your schedule, and I say that a lot. I'm not sold this team's for real. Let me look at the depth chart. So you're confident that this pitching staff of Contreras, who I like a lot, he's a kid I like a lot. Rich Hill, who graduated a year behind me in high school. Mitch Keller, Vince Velasquez, who's had chances everywhere, and Oviedo is going to carry this team through the summer. They better have some arms ready to come up and pitch. Rich Hill's not making it through the season. The bullpen's pitched well, but again, they're relying on a lot of kids. And Carlos Santana graduated just a few years behind me. I like Brian Hayes, good defensive player, no power whatsoever. I love Brian Reynolds. Sawinski's been a big surprise. Connor Joe's been a big surprise. Andrew McCutchen is not going to keep up the pace he's kept up so far this season. No, I don't think this team is going to keep it alive. I really don't. Now, if I'm wrong, Scott, I will be glad to admit it. As I told Alan Prowles, if the Rangers have a good year after what I think were some bad moves, they've continued to, they're beating up on the Yankees right now. So I'll give him his props. Right now they're in first place. But the Astros are righting the ship a little bit. Man, after 10 already, you guys are flying me through this show. Baseball youth programs are deep and kids are pitching like crazy. And then you add college. I have no idea how that enhances your argument in any way. Baseball's much deeper, and baseball wants to expand. We don't have enough pitchers now. And by the way, they don't teach these kids when they're kids to pitch enough. I'm not sure how that changes anything. Well, you're wrong there. That's best pitcher in all time played college at USC. A lot of these kids played in college. Depends how far back you want to go. And they also pitched. They pitched in the minor leagues, and they pitched. Guess what they did? They pitched complete games. They threw in between starts. They built up arm strength and pitched for 20 years. Go look at Catfish Hunter's numbers and the number of innings he pitched every year. And tell me that it hurt his career. It's in the Hall of Fame. That's just one example. I'll give you 100 more. I didn't say they weren't different. I said they suck. And they do. These guys are not doing these pitchers any favors. And if you played the game, Carlos, you'd know. And I don't like to throw you under the bus that way like the rest of the guys do, but you get better by pitching more. Your arm gets stronger the more you throw. It's not freaking rocket science. We need guys, and I think he's passed away now, but we need guys like Mike Marshall in there teaching these kids how to pitch and pitch with the right motions so that they can actually pitch complete games maybe. Now they throw 90 pitches. We got to get them out of there and protect their arm. Stupid. Backwards thinking. So we're going to put guys in who have half the talent of the guy we're taking out. But you talk about it when we talk about it like it shouldn't change. It's different. And I have to accept it. I don't have to accept it. It's just because it's different, it doesn't need to change. It does. The guys running baseball and running teams and personnel directors and coaches don't know how to coach pitchers anymore. They don't know how to develop pitchers that won't get hurt every other time out. Jacob deGrom is a perfect example. Stop saying it's different, man. Let's talk standings. Let me see what I got here. We'll go back to the standings in a second here. Let me get to the standings in a second. Let me get through the rest of these comments, Drew. I'll go back. 20-8. All right, well, you know what? We'll do it right now. All right, let's go through the standings before we get too late in the hour here. I do want to get a little NBA and a little NHL. Probably won't get too much of it, which I knew would happen. Tampa Bay still rolling. Let's see who they've been playing recently because I've been begrudging them. Still beating up on the bad teams. Win 3 against the White Sox. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Astros. They win 3 more against the White Sox. Again, you got to win these games. And again, I know I'm trying not to begrudge them, but Yankee fans, and I said this today. Yankee fans, if you said Stanton would miss substantial time, Bader won't play at all, Hicks and Donaldson were going to get playing time that we didn't want him to get, that Herman, Schmidt, who I do like, and Brito were going to get 17 starts between them, and Rondon and Severino would have none, and they'd be only they're 8 games out now, but they're 15 and 13. It's not the end of the world. It's April 30th. They'll be okay. They've had injuries, and they've stayed tough till this weekend. Now they're not scoring runs. If Judge is out for any period of time, it's going to be a problem. But the Blue Jays are playing like we thought they were. The Orioles have played well, 8-2 in their last 10. Blue Jays have won 6 in a row. Red Sox hanging in there at 500, but the Rays are good. I do think the Springs injury is going to hurt them, but they seem to find guys to replace them all the time. Pittsburgh's 20-8. No, I get it. I know the record, Scott, and we'll get to the Central again and talk more about it in a second. Sox, Sinky, red and white. Pirates are not beating bad teams. They are dominating. Well, again, they're bad teams, though. I get it. They're playing great baseball right now. I won't take anything away from them. My opinion is they won't be there at the end of the day. Unless this division continues to stink. Tampa has I said that, right? I've been saying that for weeks. And when they start playing good teams regularly, because when they play the Blue Jays, they lost 2 out of 3. When they lost the Astros, they lost 2 out of 3. Same things happen with the Pirates, other than the Dodgers, but I don't know if I'd consider the Dodgers a good team. Kenny's back to the Mississippi State kid. Yesterday we talked about that, and I think I talked about it on the college sports huddle a few weeks back or a month ago. I can't remember the kid's name, but he throws both right hand and left hand. He throws in 90s, I think, both ways. He didn't have a great day yesterday, but Kenny had saw him pitch, a kid from Mississippi State. I can't remember who they were playing yesterday because I didn't watch any of it. Guys, flip around the channels when you get a chance. If you got the ACC network or the SEC network or even ESPN2 shows a lot of college games, really good baseball being played. And now we're getting closer to the regionals starting for the College World Series. Yeah, and they're having it for preemptive reasons as well, which is just stupid. To cut into your body and have a tendon put in to make your arm stronger. How is that? Never mind. You can't do performance-enhancing drugs, but you can have performance-enhancing surgeries. How does that make any sense? Mets game's already postponed today. No, I don't know where they are. We're looking at the schedule a little bit. I don't need to look up the stats, Carlos. I know that what I'm saying is right. The game has progressively gotten to a worse point. I'm not going to belabor pitchers anymore. The guy from Pittsburgh in the minors for 13 years got a single and a double. That was awesome. That's a great story as well. Who throws Carlos under the bus? He starts to talk. You guys are doing great with the comments today. There are stats and medical reviews on kids getting fatigued and getting Tommy John surgery. No. Because they don't build up their arm strength. Carlos, I'm skipping every comment you make. We'll talk about it next Friday. You want to debate this? We'll debate it next Friday. It's a perfect topic for our show. I just told you they don't build up their arm strength. You know what happens when you don't build up your arm strength? You hurt yourself. You either need Tommy John surgery, you have ulnar nerve issues, you get rotary cuff surgery. Howard never played a game, shows up again. Even the Mets' terrible pitching in the late 90s and 2000. I'm not talking about pitching anymore. I'm done. AL Central. Thank you, Drew. Save me. Uh, Twins the best of the worst. The Twins are okay. I mean, look at plus 22 run differential, 5-5. The division's certainly been on a bad roll. The White Sox on the worst of all. They've lost 10 in a row. And the Royals, they've gone into last place, tied with the Royals at 7-21. Tigers probably won't continue to even play as well as they are. The Guardians playing underwhelming baseball. The Twins will win this division. You picked them to win this division, Drew, and I think I picked the Guardians. We both had them both in the playoffs. Probably, they may not both make the playoffs. That might be the problem. I'm not talking about this anymore. I don't have time. Sport. It's just laughable. Neil, South Carolina, who they playing today? Number 3 in the nation. Listen, good baseball being played. South Carolina, I know Neil's a big fan. Wake Forest. We'll do a show around when the College World Series gets started, maybe when the regional shows games get started, we'll do a College Sports Huddle show then. Get Larry Sorensen on. I want to get his take on the Wake Forest season and some other teams. I don't know that he's carried over into South Carolina, but we'll get his take. The West. Rangers holding on, but thank God they started playing the Yankees because they were not playing very well leading up to that. But the Astros, 6-4 in their last 10. Starting to play better baseball, though. The Mariners still the big disappointment here. 3-7 in their last 10, lost 4 in a row. I keep waiting for them to right the ship. They're only 5 games back, though. The Angels at 500. The A's, if I'm not mistaken. Drew, you did the math for me last week. I got to believe they're still on the pace to lose 130 games. Right? I'm pretty sure. Drew did survive the grandchild last weekend. Overnighter. Kudos. Twins lost to the Royals yesterday. Too inconsistent for my taste. Well, that whole division is going to be inconsistent. I like the Twins. I like Rocco Baldelli. Not overly deep, but nobody's overly deep. Again, we talk about this all the time. Anytime depth comes up, nobody's deep. So, but why do we need 2 more teams when we don't have depth on the teams we have now? Aaron Rodgers took his teammates to the Rangers game. I did see Aaron there, by the way, last night. This could be an Aaron Rodgers change. We'll see. First impressions mean a lot. I know he took a lot of his teammates to the game. They kept showing them on the camera last night. Kudos to the Rangers for the win last night, which hopefully we'll get to. If we don't, maybe we'll go a little long today. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, it's hard for Leopards to change your spots, right? And I still think the Zava character on Ted Lasso was designed around Aaron Rodgers. I really do. Mohawks have at least 2 Mississippi State players coming into play this year. Cool. You know what, Rick? When you can, are the rosters out? I'd love you to, if you can send me a roster, because I'd love to. We'll do a show. When we do a show, we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about the summer leagues with the college kids. I'd love to do that. And maybe we'll do a show, a college sports huddle, and maybe we'll get Rob Spagnola on the show. If you have a contact with him, I mean, I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I don't know Rob that well. So, and at least Braves, everybody's playing. You know what? Philly's getting it back together a little bit now. They've won 4 in a row, 8 of their last 10. Marlins hanging in there, won 3 in a row, over 2 games over 500. Another big surprise in baseball to me is the Marlins. Not sure their offense. They're over 2 games over with a minus 36 run differential. But the Braves continue to place, continue to win 2/3 of their games. They're 5-5 in their last 10, though. Mets hanging in there despite some injuries, 4-6 in their last 10. 3 games behind the Braves now. They're letting the Phillies back in after that bad start. And Drew kind of talks about the same thing here. Well, there you go. Nobody's that deep. Again, it's funny. Right on cue, Carlos. Mets aren't that deep. Name me a team that's deep. Look at it. Look at what the Yankees are pitching. They're pitching burrito every fifth day. This is why Rob Manfred needs to stop talking about expansion. We don't need two more teams. Just because cities want teams doesn't mean they should have them, or that we should have that much dilution of the talent, that much more dilution of the talent. Am I knitting? No, I'm playing with the cord from my microphone. Sorry. That's good catch there, Kenny. I'm trying to do this so I don't push on my damn desk. So again, now we get to the Central. Let me get your comments up here. South Carolina plays Auburn today. Auburn has been playing good baseball too. LSU is playing good baseball. Wake's still number 2. Wake's had a great season. It's going to be a great, I think, regional leading up to the College World Series, and then a lot of fun at the College World Series. So, Neil, did you go to YouTube? I think I mentioned this to you, and I mentioned it on the college sports show. Go to YouTube, and I've got to rewatch it because I love it. There's a great documentary about Augie Garotto, who coached at Cal State Fullerton and then at Texas. Tremendous. If you like college baseball and you want to see a great motivator, watch Augie. I can't remember the name of the documentary, but if you go to YouTube and put in Augie Garotto, you're going to get it. Great job. NL Central, Pittsburgh, as Scott said, still playing, well, as Drew says, way over their head, and Scott disagrees. He thinks the Pirates are there to stay. I don't think there's enough pitching there. Your number 2 starter, again, graduated in 1979 right behind me. So he's 62 years old. I know I'm being facetious. Brewers still playing good baseball, 6-4 in their last 10. I still think the Brewers win this division. The Cubs, 4-6, starting to kind of, again, I do not like the way this Cubs team is designed. I've said it a lot. They got off to a pretty good start, starting to fall back to earth. The Reds holding in there a little bit. I've been riding the Reds as one of the worst teams in baseball, but they've won 5 in a row. And they're at 12-15, 7.5 games behind the Pirates. Listen, if the Pirates keep winning, that's great. I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to see the Pirates do well. Other than the fact I got to listen to Mark Mancini tell me what a great team he thought they'd be all along. There's no way anybody saw this coming. Nobody saw this coming. One of the biggest disappointments in baseball is the Cardinals at 10-18. Playing close games, their run differential is only -10, but 3-7 in their last 10. They just can't get it done. Well, can you email to me, Rick? I think you have my email. If you don't, I'll give it to you. I'd like to have it, and maybe, like I said, I don't know if you got if you have a contact, because I know you go to a lot to the games, and if you don't, I might reach out to Bob Scott, who's married to my second cousin. He does a lot with the Mohawks, and he knows Rob pretty well, I'm sure. And I'd like to get Rob. I think I'd like to get Rob on the show and talk about the league and the kids and the great job he's done with the Mohawks up there in Amsterdam. Fun night out at a ball game, good baseball, and I do promise, Rick, to get up there to a game with you guys. Kenny, A's most losses in April ever, and the Rays most wins in April ever. That's a good complete cycle there. Again, I think the A's are still on a pace to lose 130 games. I guess which would put the Rays on a pace to win 130 games, which isn't going to happen. Hopefully never, Carlos. Hopefully it'll never be official. But, and again, somebody brought this up. I've not found a lot about it. Somebody brought it up on a show here a few weeks ago. And Rob Manfred, if this is what you're thinking about, this is why you should not be commissioner of baseball. I'd rather see Carlos be commissioner of baseball than Rob Manfred. Cardinals could be so far back that they could. It's possible. They're burying themselves. And again, it's you don't win divisions in April, but you can certainly lose them. And the Cardinals already 10 games out of first place. Yankees 8 games out of first place. But the Yankees are 8 games out of first place at what are they, 15 and 12? What did I say they were? 15 and 13. Big difference in the way these two teams are playing. And we're going to get to the West. I know we're going to talk about this. The Diamondbacks were one of my surprise team picks for the year. Didn't pick them to make the playoffs till next year, but they're playing good baseball. We'll get to that in a second. I want to try to keep up with your guys' comments here. Brewers doing well, hoping they can stay healthy and just see good baseball all around. Listen, one of the best managers in baseball, and Craig Counsell. One of the best pitching staffs. Delvin Williams has picked up where Hader left off. Burns is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Woodard is one of the best pitchers in baseball. That offense has just got to keep on keeping up with the pitching staff a little bit, and they'll be all right. In the West, it's turning into a very mediocre division. Diamondbacks, again, surprisingly, 16 and 12. They've won 3 in a row, 5 and 5 in their last 10. The Dodgers, 15 and 13. I'm not in love with the Dodgers. I'm not in love with this team. The pitching staff is brittle. The team could still win the division, could still finish second. I did pick the Padres to win here. They haven't gotten it going. They are 6 and 4 in their last 10, finally at 500. Tatis showing the clown that he is, as the other night when he was getting chanted, I don't know where they were, about steroid use. You know, he's doing a little dance in right field. He's a clown. And until he grows up, and Manny Machado is, I think Manny Machado's the leader of this team, and I think he's a good player, and he's matured a lot. Didn't like his comments early in the year about wanting out of here if they don't win this year, or they don't pay him, I guess. But he might be the leader on this team. And I just think there's so many big egos on this team. It's going to be very tough team chemistry-wise for them to put it together. The Giants playing a little better, 6 and 4 in their last 10, still 4 games under 500. And the Rockies probably already falling out of the race, 8 games behind. They're not making up anything. A's about to go to Vegas. Yeah, well, Oakland, you should have supported the team. You should have got them, helped them with a stadium. You should have, and the fans, you should have come out. I understand it's a bad place to watch baseball. I get that. But fans, if you're not going to come out and watch your team, don't cry when they leave. Expansion is when New York realizes they don't have any football teams. Teams in contention for expansion: Portland, Nashville, and a few others. Again, just because there are good cities to have teams does not mean we should have teams. More teams. There's not enough good pitchers to go around now. You constantly will tell me about teams aren't deep. Teams aren't deep. Teams aren't deep. That's because there's too many teams. I'm more for contraction than I am for expansion. Take 2 teams away, we'll be better. The game will be better. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Arizona all going with youth and winning so far. Washington and Oakland doing the same. Well, obviously, there's a difference in the talent level of the youth that they're playing. And these 3 teams, by the way, have been doing this for a while. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Arizona have been playing kids for a while, and some of them are starting to mature. Pittsburgh doesn't stay the course. That's their problem. Now they are. They signed Reynolds bit long term, which is a good sign. They've given Shelton an extension to his contract. Managing hasn't been the problem here in Pittsburgh. The upper management has been the problem in Pittsburgh. We'll continue here for a little bit. We won't wrap it up. We'll go a little long today. Philly halftime still with us. The Phillies had a slow start, and now they need to start kicking it up a gear. They could have been buried here. The Braves slowed down a little bit, as I said, even though they're playing, winning 2/3 of their games overall. The Phillies have rebounded nicely from a really poor start. Only 3.5 games out. I thought they were buried. Listen, Philly, I know you haven't probably watched the show a lot. I'm a big, big backer of Rob Thompson. I think he should have got a job a long time ago. I thought he should have got the Yankee job when when Aaron Boone got hired. And I was so happy to see him get this job when they fired Girardi, and he's the polar opposite of Girardi. And he's a really good baseball man, a lifer who deserved this shot. And it's hard for me to root against the Phillies because of Rob Thompson. I do think that this team is still flawed, pitching wise. And there's been a lot of talk I've heard the last few days about the pitch clock really affecting the Philadelphia pitchers, namely Nola and Wheeler, than some other guys. And it's obvious the pitch clock has helped the pace of games. I've said before, the new rules, I really buried them before the season, and I continue to bury most of them. But the pitch clock, I think, has had a positive effect for the most part. There are some byproducts, and there will be some byproducts as we get into the postseason that some people aren't going to like, including me. Is my screen too low? Gotta look at that. Sorry, my ADD kicked in there. What was I saying? Oh, younger pitchers have had an easier time adapting to that than the older pitchers, which makes sense. They've done it in the minor leagues already. But the Phillies, again, injuries to Hoskins are going to hurt. The pitching staff, I think, is a little short. If they get Harper back in time and he can contribute, and every time, them staying close now bodes well for when they get Harper back, if he's in baseball condition. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Drew kind of commented on it early in the show. These high altitude games, they've been playing in Denver for years, but that's not 7,000 feet above sea level. It's only 5. There's a spot in Rockies Stadium, whatever they call the damn place, because I've been there and it's a beautiful place to watch a game, but they have a purple row of seats where it's exactly 1 mile above sea level. We're going up another half a mile almost. Not conducive to baseball. Build bigger parks. If they want baseball, Mexico City, and they do, maybe they need to build bigger parks. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a big fan of these games where, 100 runs get scored. Grossman paid you back. Unfortunately, the Yankees catch him in between trips to the DL. Grossman paid me back. All right. Money had been a problem. By the way, Joey Gallo, when they played the Twins here, was it during the week this week? Yeah. Didn't they play the Twins during the week this week? Joey Gallo hits a couple of bombs. Been nice to see a little of that effort in New York, Joey. In fact, there was an audio of a fan just screaming at him. Money's been a problem for the smaller teams. Yeah, that's why you need a draft. Coors Field, thank you. I don't know why I lost that. I should know that. When I went out there, I was working for Coors. But anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful ballpark. And you get a little tired hoofing your way up to that mile-high seat. I can tell you that. What else is going on in Major League Baseball? We're going to continue to go on here. I was going to say bye to my wife, or she went out to meet some friends, but I guess I won't. The White Sox have bunched Luis Robert for not running out a grounder. You know, things are going to get ugly in Chicago. This team was expected to contend for the division, change managers, still some talent. Now Robert's not hustling. Anderson's hurt already. Maybe a feel-good story like Hendricks coming back will help them. I don't know. But right now it's not good. We talked about Drew Maggi. After 13 years in the minors, he gets his first big league hits, and that's a really fun story, and one I'd like to see more of in Major League Baseball. These guys who are lifers in the minors and stick it out, God bless them. Glad to see him doing well. We talked about all the runs in Mexico. Manny Machado and Nelson Cruz hammered the Giants. They combined for 7 RBIs in Mexico. We talked about DeGrom being out. Yankees mulling placing Judge on the injured list. The MRI came back. His hip is a mild strain. Could have been worse. He needs to play within himself a little bit more. One of the reasons he was able to stay on the field the last couple of years was he's a big guy, and I'm not telling you he should go out there and loaf, but he needs to go out there and play within himself, which he has. You don't see him diving for balls that he can't catch. You don't see him making silly moves on a base pass, which he can put himself in harm's way. Now, you have to temper that with the fact that he's out there trying to lead a bunch of kids, too, and he's doing a great job of it, taking Volpe under his wing. What else? DeGrom, we know, on the 15-day disabled list. By the way, did anybody catch the uniforms the Rangers were wearing the other day? Where's Alan Perales when I need him? What are those things? They look like freaking slow-pitch softball uniforms. Some of the uniforms these teams go out in, I don't know what they're thinking about. The over-under for the game in Mexico is 20 runs. I might go on DraftKings and bet the over just to have a little fun. I trashed Robbie a while back. I know I trashed him a while back. Just thought of you when he launched it. I know. I trash a lot of guys who come back and haunt me, CA. Baez was benched a few weeks ago. Yeah, we talked about that here, and he's another guy. These guys, you know what? The easiest thing to do in sports, well, let's just stick to baseball. The easiest thing to do in baseball is to run hard to first base. Nobody does it. Sorry. Very few guys do it. Takes no effort, takes no talent to run to first base. And I'm so tired of seeing guys turn doubles and, first of all, outs, bang, bang plays. If you're running hard, you might have freaking beat an infield grounder. But more often than not, turning doubles into singles and triples into doubles or singles. That's why baseball stinks. Keep changing the rules. Keep changing the rules. Until guys care and hustle, then it isn't going to matter. What's going on? I just told you. They don't hustle. Easiest thing to do. Takes no talent. Run. I know, CA. Believe me, I dish it out. I can take it. You're a good man. I love having you as part of the posse here. I got a posse here. Manager there, former World Series champion. Manager where? What were we talking about? Oh, Detroit. AJ Hinch. Yeah. Takes the fall for the ridiculous sign stealing scandal. Feel good stories. Ask Dallas about how that turned out, and Debbie does. Oh my God, Kenny. Your wife's not there with you today to rein you in a little bit? Judge had the day off for a hip ailment. He's liable to go on the DL for 15 days. It's possible. Had to have an MRI. They were really worried beforehand. Turns out he has a mild hip strain. Twins unis were also a joke. Yeah, I agree. Again, you know what? Twins had some great hats. They look atrocious. Big M. What's wrong with the interlocking TC? I loved it. I don't get it. Oh, my God. They're awful. Good point. Thank you, Neil. I forgot about that one. You know what, Scott? I like. I'm gonna jump to the NBA quick. We'll talk a little NBA and NHL real quick since we're 10 minutes over, but we're gonna keep going a little longer. What do you have? I like Sacramento today. They're at home. Warriors have the experience. They came back in this series after being down 2-0. Had a chance to close it out at home though the other night. Couldn't do it. I like this young Sacramento team. Mike Brown's done a great job there, and I think Sacramento beats them today. No better, and I said before, I'll get to that in a second. I said before, there's no better, and I love the Super Bowl, but there's no better moment in sports than Game 7 in any sport. I like it in the NHL probably better than anywhere, but baseball, basketball, hockey, Game 7s, there's nothing like them. Nothing like them. Brandon Nebo has made a few games go the Mets' way into part of wins. I'm not sure. I think I know what you're saying there. Yeah, I love Brandon Nebo. He's on my fantasy team. Not turning into too many wins, but I like him. What do you got here, Drew? Gotta go. Thanks for the broadcast. You're welcome, Drew. Thanks for being here. Thanks for participating as always. Thanks to everybody for participating. We're not going to wrap it up just yet, though, because I do want to get into the real quickly. We're going to go through the NBA. I want to get through the take a look at each series and the series that are coming up. So we're going to be looking at the semifinals in the Eastern Conference starting. Well, let's get back to we got Game 7s, right? We got Sacramento. Oh, this is all right. Anyway, let me look at the Game 7s today. This is what I want to look at. Hang on. Bear with me, boys. The schedule today. We got a Game 1. We got just one Game 7. That's it, right? Everything else is done. Okay, we're done. I like Sacramento. I like the kids to wrap it up today. 3:30 today. We got Miami and New York. Miami and New York at New York. By the way, big break for the Knicks, right? Not having to play the Celtics or the Sixers. Do you think the NBA should be reseeding? They don't reseed. The brackets stay the same. The Knicks and Heat get each other. Sixers and Celtics have to square off against each other when they had far better records than either one of these teams. I'm not so sure they shouldn't be reseeding here once we get into it. But just a thought. So anyway, the series that'll be starting here, we got the Knicks in Miami. I like the Knicks a lot. They got the home court advantage here. They got a 3-1 advantage over the Heat for the season. Obi Toppin's playing really well, filling in for Randall. The fact that the Knicks have a confidence level that they can win without Randall because they've done it with him playing hurt, with him on the bench in the fourth quarter of Game 4, with him getting hurt in Game 5, and them just manhandling the favored Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Knicks match up well here. They're playing really good defense. Barrett has picked up his game a bit. Thibodeau has changed his MO and not just sticking with his guys through thick and thin. He's benched guys like Randall. He is being less rigid and helping this team go forward. I'll get to your guys' comments here in a second. 76ers and Celtics. I'm going to take the 76ers here to get off the schneid. They haven't been to the conference finals, I think, since 2001. The Celtics are really good, but they don't have an answer for him, Joel Embiid. If he's healthy enough, I think the Sixers find a way to win this series. And that gives us a 76er Knick playoff series. And I think the Knicks will have a chance there if my predictions come true. In the Western Conference, I picked the Suns. They were my favorite going in. They handle the Clippers fine. The Nuggets get out of round one easily. Nuggets have a habit of collapsing in the playoffs, and I think the Suns will handle them here. Booker's playing great for the Suns. They've got I think they've got the answer to Jokic with Booker and Durant. If Durant stays healthy, Durant's still one of the top 5 players in the game if he stays healthy. We're going to get either the Kings and the Warriors against the Lakers. I like whoever wins this series to beat the Lakers. Lakers played well against the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies weren't the same team they were since that whole Ja Morant issue in the middle of the season with a gun and the $10,000 and the lap dance and another guy off the rails. So I like the. I'm going to say it's the Kings, so I'll take the Kings over the Lakers, but I take the Warriors as well. The champions are champions, and they showed this in the series until they're not, until they're out. And the Warriors lost a golden opportunity here in game 6, at home. NBA and no one but asses. Did you think that up on your own, Kenny? Sacramento, dark horse in the West. I like the Suns. I think Sacramento will play the Suns in the finals. Knicks caught a break. Let's beat the Heat. Agree. They do catch a break without that reseeding, which probably should be done. I'm not sure what the logic is in not reseeding, other than the fact I guess you can. I'm not sure what it is. I guess you can plan ahead and sell playoff tickets or whatever, but I think they should. Yeah, Scott agrees. I think it's very unfair to the Celtics and the Sixers to be playing each other in the second round and not two teams that are inferior. Hold on, I got something playing here that shouldn't be. We're going really long today, eh? Reseed. Agreed. Kenny, what do you got? Going to Perth High School for a home show. I will say hi to your buddy Lori. Oh, say hi to Lori for me. I haven't seen Grace in a long time. Tell her we're moving, but not closer. But we'll have them over once we get moved. It's going to be a hectic time here. So say hi to Lori for me. Grace. Say hi, Grace. Grace Alou. CA, exactly. Welcome it from everyone. Currently, any of you guys and gals may be able to do some if the Avalanche falls and meets the Stars in the second round. We're going to talk to some NHL in just a second. Toppin is from Ossining. Am I saying that right, Neil? Ossining? He is playing very well. He played very well against Cleveland. Stepped up big time. He'd been playing well kind of the end of the regular season as he got a few more minutes. There's things he can't do that Randall does, though. The big thing, his defense isn't as good, but Randall's hasn't been good because he's hurt. So you don't really lose anything there. What you do lose, and I know Rick disagreed with me earlier when I said this on the Mac and Jack show, Randall moves the basketball better than Toppin. Randall moves the basketball as well as anybody on his team. He averages 6 assists a game. He does distribute and facilitate as well as shoot. Is he a big shooter? Yes. But so's Brunson. Brunson's a score first point guard. But that doesn't mean you don't facilitate, because that also opens up the game for other people. Embiid is definitely out for game 1 and maybe game 2, so that could hurt the Phillies' chances for sure. The kid from Amsterdam, he's not turning pro, though, I don't think, is he? I did not hear this story that, and Rick, maybe you got some feedback. I did not hear that Andre Jackson is going to Laurie Setner, that is, Laurie Setner Turner, that is, Rick. Used to live down the street. Her and her brother she used to terrorize us as much as we terrorize her, I guess. Lori tunes into the show now and again. And we had all these nicknames for each other. Hers was Grace. Mine was noodlehead. Her brother was a pant wheel, and I don't remember what Kevin was. My brother. I don't remember. Anyway, tell me about Andre Jackson. I did not hear Andre Jackson was turning pro. Let me check this out. And it is a big mistake, Kenny, if he does. He's a nice player. He's not a star on the next level. Not yet. He does a lot of dirty work. Let me check it out. I want to see if there's any news I can find. Yeah, you're right. UConn's Andre Jackson Jr. to enter 2023 draft and maintain eligibility. So there's an out there for him, Kenny. He can go back. He may not get drafted, guys. There's only 2 rounds in the NBA to draft. He may not even get drafted. He's a good player, a really good college player. I'm not sure. And again, he could probably be a good bench player in the NBA. He's probably not going to get drafted even if he stays, but he'll get signed by a team and be a potential contributor down the road. Right. Rick said he declared and holds on to his eligibility. I think it'd be a mistake. I don't think he'll get drafted. I really don't. So anyway, let's move on to the NHL here as the show goes on into its third hour here pretty soon. Oh, we're in its third hour. What am I talking about? Oh, my God. I didn't think we'd go this late. Anyway, let's look quick at the NHL playoffs, shall we? CA might have something to contribute here. Oh, where are we? In the scoreboard last night, the Rangers stave off elimination, force a game 7 tomorrow night, I believe, in New Jersey. They beat the Devils 5-2. They just beat up on them pretty good. Second period, I think they scored a couple of goals, made it 3-1 early in the third period. They made it 4-1. The Maple Leafs avoid a game 7 against Tampa Bay and get off the schneid, finally win a series 2-1 over the Lightning. I guess we can officially declare the Lightning run over. Good team, good run. And the Oilers beat the Kings in game 6 to win the series. 4-2. That game was in Los Angeles. Today, what do we have today in the NHL? We've got game 7. Bruins getting pushed to the limit here against the Panthers. Again, I talked about this before. This season, especially if they go out here in the first round, this season is going to be a footnote in history. People are not going to remember this tremendous historic season the Bruins had if they don't finish it by winning the championship, much less going out in the first round. Now, this team's only lost a couple games at home all year, for 3 games in a regular season, I think, but they have lost a couple in the playoffs. So game 7 there. Game 7 in Colorado, where the Kraken, in their first ever playoff appearance as an expansion team just 2 years ago, take the defending champion Avalanche to a game 7. Exciting stuff coming up, and we got a third game 7 tomorrow night. As I said, the Rangers at the Devils. Let's see what else we got here. I wanted to look at some of these what are the other matchups we got coming up? We got the Bruins finishing up. Who plays the second round? Do they tell me who will match up in the second round? Hang on a second here. That's finishing that up. So we're finishing that up. We know the Stars beat the Wild. To win Pacific Division, the Golden Knights beat the team I picked. Just how good I'm going. My upset winner to win the West was going to be the Jets. They didn't make it. So I wanted the bracket. Why won't it show me the bracket? Just want the bracket. Playoff schedule. Oh, here it is right here. I think this is the first. In the second round, it'll be the Bruins if they win against the Maple Leafs. Or it'll be the Panthers against the Maple Leafs. We get the Hurricanes against the Devils or the Rangers. I guess it depends. Now, see, the NHL does reseed, right? I'm not going to get into this, I guess, because the NHL does reseed, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing. So I'll finish up with your guys' comments. That's where we stand in the NHL today. What we got here? I watched some of Jim's podcasts, and he was happy for Toronto. Again, Jim's I'm sure he's happy he would have been happier if the Devils won last night, but Game 7 tomorrow night will be a lot of fun. He's been rooting for the Toronto to get off the schneid for a while. It's a good team, full of good hockey players. They just had this monkey on their back now for quite some time. Rangers must win Game 7. Season would be an epic fail. Choke, I don't know. Well, listen, again, I have a problem with the word choke a lot of times, Neil, only because you have to factor in the other team's effort, right? That plays into your failures. And that's what we've seen here. The Rangers going in and taking 2 games in New Jersey to start this series in really dominating fashion makes it a big surprise. But the Devils have played some suffocating defense on the Rangers, and the Rangers haven't gotten out of their own way. Now, Galore did make some changes in some of his lines last night that I thought really added some energy and some more firepower to their offense. And I think it showed, obviously, in winning this game 5-2. They had not played well at all in the previous 3 games. When something is good, you just don't stop. Go TGI Sports Talk. Yeah, I could go on all day, but my voice is starting to go now. Agreed. Actually, this kid, the goalie's been really good until last night. And maybe that's catching up to him. He's a big kid. He's like 6'6" or something, isn't he? Schmidt. Hopefully we can get Jim Beringer on next week and we can talk some more hockey and get more in depth into it. But I don't disagree. This team has to win. It will be an epic failure. I'm not a big fan of the word choke because the team you're playing has something to do with it. The only team that is in risk of an epic failure, well, the Bruins definitely. Listen, I said beforehand, I thought the 2 teams going into the playoffs that had the most pressure on them were the Bruins because of having a historic season. Anything less than a Stanley Cup championship, to my mind, is an epic failure. You lose in the first round, I don't like to use the word tragedy, but it'll be tragic. And also the Toronto. I thought Toronto had the most pressure on them, and now they've like the monkey off their back. Watch out. Now that the monkey's off their back, they might do some damage in the East. The player for the Bucks said it best. Everyone loses, everyone wins. It depends on the day. Well, it's very philosophical, but you do have some input in whether you win or lose. And the Bucks were just a tremendous disappointment in round 1. Now, Giannis was hurt a lot, not at 100% when he did play, but their offense is predictable. I think Budin, what's his name? Budin, what's that guy's name? Mike, I always pronounce his name wrong, so may as well do it one more time, right? Help me out. Ooh, where are you? Milwaukee Bucks. Budenholzer. Yeah, see, I was close. Nearly got fired, by the way, the year they won the championship a couple years ago against the Suns. I'd predicted a Bucks-Suns final, so there you go on my predictions again. But Budenholzer might be in trouble here with the Bucks. Even though I had a great regular season, going out in the first round is not going to sit well with people. Budenholzer, thank you. You do have an extra D in there, but I won't hold it against you since I couldn't find the name at all. I could never come up with his name. Again, he's been on the verge of being fired several times by the Bucks. Won a championship, which certainly bought him a couple more years. I think he could be in trouble here after this loss to the Heat. Even though they had some injuries, I think they've just gotten very predictable in the way they run their offense. CA, the Bruins are going to get the cup. I question whether they'll win, though they will drink from it. Be careful. Listen, I wouldn't be drinking out of that thing, knowing what guys do with it. I want nothing to do with drinking out of that cup. The most epic failure was and will always be the Patriots loss. I have no idea what you're talking about. Scott, I don't know about you, but I don't remember this day at all. What the hell is he talking about? There's a couple of Sundays in my life that they're completely erased from my memory. I don't know what happened. I could have been drugged. I don't know what it is. I got a feeling this is one of them. I will tell you, Kenny, in all seriousness, I like to pretend I don't remember that day. I remember that day very well. And again, I will tell you, as I told everybody, that season means nothing to me. The fact that they were 18-0 means nothing to me because they didn't finish the job. I will also tell you, one of the reasons I don't believe in the word choke is the Patriots didn't necessarily choke that day. The Giants had a great game plan. They ran it to perfection. They harassed Brady all day, and they were the better team that day. That day. They played that game 10 times, we probably win 9. But that day, they were the best team. That's why you can't just say, your team choked. Now, do I think they played their best football? No, but I think the team on the other side had a lot to do with that. So that's one of the reasons that you have to factor that in. Now, there are teams that just choke. Which comment was that for, Scott? Oh, you agree? I'm very fuzzy on a couple of Sundays in my life. Can you believe I've been here? I haven't even got my orange juice finished yet. Tanner's on. Yeah, he's everybody wants that extra D in there. Welcome, Tanner. Good to have you with us. I'm going long today. I'm heading in my 3.5 hour. No, 2.5, 2.5 hours. We had so much to talk about with the draft and baseball. I had to go a little longer. You would love drinking milk from that cup with a team of men. Listen, that cup has been through so much. I just don't know that I'd even want to touch it without rubber gloves on or something, or maybe a hazmat suit. Choke has. Listen, again. Well, that one's, you know what? Again, you got to give my team a little credit. I just gave the opposing team credit for beating me. You've got to give my team credit for winning. Now, Atlanta should have run the football a little bit. Coaching staff had some brain cramps. But please don't take away from the greatness of the team that overcame a 25-point deficit. Not fair. Not fair at all. Going the other way. I give credit to the teams that beat me. I want credit when I beat them. I don't care how it happens. You have never heard me. Never heard me, Rick. And I don't think you'll disagree with me. You have never heard me say that team didn't deserve to beat us. Now, we've contributed to some of those losses with the way that we played. I don't blame referees. I don't say that team shouldn't have won. The 2007 season is a perfect example. The Giants kicked our ass up and down the field that day. They were the better team that day. That's it. We were out coached. We were out played. We were out everything. Against Atlanta, I'd like to think that our play and our coaching contributed to the choke job that Atlanta did. There's no, again, we weren't out there not playing. I think it's a little unfair. Scott talked to Anthony Wright on his show when he was a part of that Giants team, and he said that the players were ultra confident because, yes, again, they played very well against the Patriots to end the season, and the Patriots played all their starters for the most part, which they usually do. And the Giants were on a roll that year, so they played well. The red was in my face. It does. There's things that rile me up, right? Again, I give credit. I always give credit where credit is due. Always. I've never blamed anybody for any of our losses except our team. I'm also going to take credit for the wins. Now, I might say they did something to contribute to losing, but I want credit for the wins. There is a lot going on, man, between the NBA, the NHL, the draft, baseball. Tough day, man. I'm going to be on 3 hours if I don't get out of here soon. There is no credit for losing. You want a trophy for showing? I don't want a trophy for showing up. No, I don't. No. I think that's rhetorical, right? You're not asking me. No. I don't ever. My team loses, my team lost. End of story. I'll show you all the things we should have done, so we should have won. And we've lost it to some teams we probably shouldn't have lost to, but they played well. I don't even get on the bandwagon of blaming the freaking sign stealing thing for the Yankees losing to the Astros in 2018. It's BS in my mind. They didn't score any runs. Sign stealing doesn't help you when you're on offense. At least 2 MLB rainouts are ready for today. That sucks. I think I saw one. CA, have a great weekend. We're going to wrap it up here in just a couple minutes. Is jewelry needed on Sunday or only on a cruise? No, it's not Sundays. My wife. Listen, wait, did I make it out of the last cruise without jewelry? I don't remember. I think I did. And there won't be any. Listen, there'll be no jewelry. There'll be no jewelry this year in October, and I don't know if there'll be any in February because, well, it depends. If we get enough for this house to get a wash for the new townhouse, then, we'll be okay. But I don't want, whatever. Maybe I just won't retire. I'll just keep working. One good thing in my sports world is they don't cancel taking a take. Taking a toke. Oh, you guys are the best. Listen, I've had a blast today. We went for a long time. I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me. Tanner, I'm glad I went long enough where you can jump in for a little bit. Scott, thanks for coming on and spending so much time and commenting. Philly, halftime, thank you. New viewers are always welcome. Please like and share the show. Follow the show. Rick, Kenny, Drew, Carlos, all my regulars. Who'd I miss? I probably missed somebody. If I did, don't take it personally. CA, almost forgot CA, who I just said complimented. Trying to look back here, see if there's somebody else I forgot. Neil, thank you for being on today. Great to have you guys with me every Sunday. You guys carry this show, and it's a blast to be with you guys. And I love the banter and going back with you guys back and forth. Have a great, great Sunday. Steve Engel for TGI Sports Talk. Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye. See you next week.